Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1528, and today's date is March 13th, 2018, and the title of the episode is, This is What the Central Banks Are Really Afraid of. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the retail apocalypse, it is not over as of yet. There was a survey conducted in November. About 40% of retail executives said they expected bankruptcy filings in the sector to increase in 2018. And what we are seeing right now is that this is actually happening. There is more stores that are declaring bankruptcy. They're filing. And we can see right now they're expecting the bankruptcies to surpass 2008 and maybe a little bit more than 2017. We see that Claire's, Nine West, Bon-Ton, and many other stores, they've been declaring bankruptcy. And already this year, we've had 4 major retail bankruptcies. Now, this doesn't mean these are the stores that are closing. Thousands of stores are being closed because of the bankruptcies, but we're just talking about the bankruptcies of these large chains. And that is what we're seeing right now. Now, Cushman & Wakefield, they projected that there's going to be around 12,000 retail stores that are going to close in 2018, up from 9,000 last year. And at least 25 major retailers would file for bankruptcy this year. This is how bad it is out in the retail space. And it's just getting worse. The reason for this is because these unemployment numbers, these manufacturing numbers, the GDP numbers, they're all completely manipulated. Nothing has changed since Trump has come into office. The things that he is doing is not to improve the economy that we are in today. That's not his objective. His objective is to prepare the country for the transition into a new currency, into a new economic realm. That's what he's doing right now. And what you need to do is you need to start the process of bringing back manufacturing. I mean, think about it. The central bankers, the deep state, they've been moving manufacturing out of this country into China and other Asian countries for a very long time. And here we are. We need to set up deals to bring at least some of them back here, or to start up some of the manufacturing here in this country. Because what's going to happen is, once the United States is no longer the reserve currency of the world, we have to figure out how to trade with other countries. That's the big thing. We also have to stop foreign entities from gobbling up all our companies. And it looks like Trump has already taken that step. Now, most of us have heard of the Qualcomm-Broadcom merger or hostile takeover. Now, Trump stopped this. He created an executive order. This executive order just didn't stop this one deal. It went much, much further than that. And if you look at it and you read it, you can see that he is stopping foreign takeovers of U.S. tech companies. This is what the order said. There is credible evidence that leads me to believe that Broadcom Limited, a limited company organized under the laws of Singapore, along with its partners, subsidiaries, or affiliates, including Broadcom Corporation, a California corporation, and Broadcom Cayman LP and Cayman Islands Limited Partnership, and their partners, subsidiaries, or affiliates, through exercising control of Qualcomm Incorporated, a Delaware corporation, might take action that threatens to impair the national security of the United States. And he went on to say that this executive order will crush any hopes that remain in some corners of trying to capture and control U.S. companies. So he's putting a halt to this. So there's no foreign takeovers of large U.S. tech companies right now. He's stopped that. We see there's a lot of central banks out there that are repatriating their gold. We see Hungary's out there. The Hungarian National Bank has decided to bring back their gold back home. They decided to say, you know something? We don't like having our gold in London. We need to bring it home. Now, up to now, 100,000 ounces of the precious metal was stored in London, which is in total worth about $33 billion or $130 million of current gold prices. The decision seems to be in line with the international trends, as storage of gold reserves out of the country is now considered risky by more and more central banks. Austrian, German, Dutch central banks are among those who have decided to repatriate their gold reserves. What these countries are looking at is they see the writing on the wall. They understand the dollar is doomed, and they need a confidence builder to build confidence once the dollar completely implodes on itself. And those who have gold, well, they're the ones who can build confidence. You don't have to back the currency by gold. As long as you show it, you have it, you can say, if there's problems, we have the gold. This is what China and Russia have been doing. They've been amassing a huge amount of gold. And this is to build confidence in the new system. Well, their new system. And most likely that the system that has been created out in China is controlled by the central banks. Now, for some reason, I'm getting the idea that Trump, along with Xi Jinping and Russia has already taken control of their private Western central bank. They dictate what they want. So the Rothschilds aren't really controlling Putin. I think the next move, along with China and the United States, is to force out the central banking system. Now, I'm talking about the private Western central bank system. I think this is what they're preparing to do. And this is why you hear tariffs, you hear trade war, because the only way to reset the system, to get rid of the central banks, is to bring down their entire system. Because if we don't bring down their system, there's no point to any of this, because their system allows different factions to operate. This is their source of funding. It's designed that way, and they need to get rid of it. Now, something very interesting. We know is that Venezuela, they started the petros because there's a lot of sanctions on them, and they needed to get around the sanctions. We know that Iran gets around the sanctions by using other currency, maybe using gold, bartering. Cuba's been doing this. Syria's been doing this. A lot of countries get around the sanctions, and Venezuela came up with a cryptocurrency called petros, and they were going to use it to sell their oil. Well, now a New York capital management company is set to break new ground on a commodity investment by launching a new cryptocurrency backed entirely by oil reserves. Now, this is very interesting, and they're going to call it the petrodollar. So the cryptocurrency is going to be backed by oil reserves, natural gas, and similar commodities. It also boasts to be the world's first globally compliant digital currency. Now, this is very interesting, and I do believe most likely the central banks are behind this, because what we're seeing right now is that the petrodollar website touts that it will be linked to physical assets and not thin air, and will remain more price stable as a result. And they're saying that this is a currency. Investors will treat the petrodollar as a currency and not an exchange-traded fund, an ETF, circumventing some tax reporting obligation, and is not expected to be subject to annual tax, but instead will be taxed only upon any gains from their sale of the petrodollar. And it looks like the banking system is trying to create something to convince everyone that this is a stable cryptocurrency. Now, they're pushing the idea that this is outside of the banking system, but I think they're doing this to get people into it. And we're going to have to watch this very carefully, because if it is truly not with the banking system and they're starting this up, it means that we see something else happening here. But we need to watch that very, very carefully, because the central banks, they came out and they actually broadcasted what they're really afraid of. Remember a couple years ago, about 2012, 2013, the bail-in documents were created. Because what happened in 2008, there were bailouts. Government said no more bailouts. We are done with that. So they created bail-in documents, and they experimented in Cyprus to see how it would work. They tried it in Greece, but people went to their banks and they started taking out their funds, and that caused a little bit of a problem. So they came up with other, answers and stuff like that. And we know that if or when the system comes down and they shut down the banks, called a bank holiday, they were going to set up limits on the ATM machines, limits on how much cash you can take out from inside of the bank, and this way they can control the currency within the bank. Now, their biggest worry right now is bank runs. This is why they were trying to get rid of cash. This is what they saw in Greece, and they said, okay, what we need to do is we need to start getting rid of cash. This is why there was a big push to say we don't need cash anymore. And of course, they wanted to go to all digital, and I'm not talking about cryptocurrency digital. They wanted to go to fiat digital, which they can control, that currency is centralized. So they're worried about bank runs. Now, think about this for a second. The Bank of International Settlements said the following: those looking to develop and launch a wholly digital currency should carefully weigh the implications of doing so, especially as they relate to monetary policy and overall stability. In sum, the biz noted that a currency of the nature might be useful for payments, but more work is needed to assess the full potential. A general purpose CBDC could give rise to higher instability of commercial bank deposit funding, even if designed primarily with payment purpose in mind. In periods of stress or flight towards the central bank may occur on a fast and large scale, challenging commercial banks and the central bank to manage such situations would be very difficult. There could be a situation in which banks, even stronger ones, could face issues during bank runs, thanks to the ease at which depositors could move their funds by way of the digital currency. Think about what they're saying. Before cryptocurrencies, you could only transfer your currency from bank to bank to bank, right? Or you can run to the bank and take it out in cash. But they kind of solved that problem because they would limit the amount of cash that you can take out. And if you're going to transfer the funds, it would just be going into another banking system. Not really a big deal. Now we introduce cryptocurrencies, which is outside of the banking system. When the system starts to fall apart and they start to implement the bail-in, or people see that something is going wrong, they don't have to rush to the bank. They don't have to get in their car, drive to the bank, stand online, try to get their cash out, which they just won't be able to do. All they need to do is go into the computer and transfer the funds to an exchange. Click of a button. Boom. The cash now is removed from the account. It's in an exchange, and all they have to do is then purchase a cryptocurrency. That's how fast this could happen. And they're very nervous that when there is a bank run, because the banking system's collapsing and the entire global economic system is collapsing, they're afraid that people will do this. And they should be afraid, because that's what everyone is going to do. Those people who already have accounts with Coinbase or Bittrex or Kraken or any of the other exchanges, all you need to do is hook it to your bank account, and with a click of a button, those funds are then transferred into the exchange, and then you can purchase any cryptocurrency from that point, as long as the exchange handles the cryptocurrency you want. And they're very nervous about this, and they're trying to figure out what they can do about this. And this is why they're demonizing cryptocurrency so much. This is why they're saying that terrorists use it, criminals use it. It can't be used as currency. You should really stay away from it. This is why they're continually saying it's volatile. It's not stable. Maybe use our petrodollar cryptocurrency. So we can see what is going on here, and we can see the reasoning behind what they're thinking here. Because if everyone takes their currency out of the banking system and puts it into cryptocurrency, the entire banking system collapses. Think about it. It just implodes on itself. The central banking system implodes on itself. Everything becomes non-operational. And this is what they're worried about. Back when they created the bail-in documents, no one really knew about the cryptocurrencies. No one knew about them. It wasn't widespread. No one even heard of Bitcoin, maybe a few people. But today, a lot of people have been signing up. A lot of people have been purchasing cryptocurrency, especially the younger generation. And they're very nervous about what will happen during a bank run. So you can see right now, the central bankers, this is what they are afraid of. And we know from this that we're heading towards a transition. We're heading towards a soft or a very hard transition. But no matter what, you need to be prepared for what is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.